There is a sacred illusion we were born into a dream that has shaped how we see ourselves and the divine. It tells us that God is distant, watching from somewhere beyond the stars, separated from us by holy texts, traditions, and the trembling ladder of unworthiness we believe we must climb. But this illusion, though ancient, is not true. And the time has come not to debate, not to reason, but to remember. To remember what the soul has always known, even in silence, that God is not somewhere above, God is within. Beneath the noise of your thoughts, beneath the roles you've played and the masks you've worn, there is a presence eternal, untouched, unchanging. That presence is not your mind, nor your body, nor your past. That presence is God, moving as you, breathing through you, loving within you. Not the image of God, not the idea of a ruler in the sky, but the very substance of life itself, the Tao that cannot be spoken. The spirit that hovers not above the waters, but within every drop. The Christ light not on a pedestal, but in your chest, glowing patiently beneath every fear. You do not need to ascend a mountain or kneel in a temple to find this holiness. You need only to turn inward, to be still, to listen, to breathe. The temple is your being. The scripture is your heartbeat. The prayer is your presence. Why then have we spent lifetimes looking outward? Because the ego fears surrender. The ego fears stillness. It whispers that you are separate, flawed, incomplete. It convinces you that divinity is reserved for the few, for the chosen, for the pure. But the soul knows better. The soul remembers, and in its remembering, it whispers back, you are already home. Not someday, not after you fix yourself, not once you've earned forgiveness or transcended your flaws. Now, in this moment, in this breath. God does not wait for your perfection. God is your presence right now, exactly as you are. There is a spark in you, uncreated and undying, a spark that watched your first breath with infinite love and will cradle your last with the same. That spark is not yours, it is you, and it is holy. It is sacred. It is enough. You were never meant to worship the light from a distance. You were meant to realize you are the light. The mystics knew. The poets wept for it. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Not later, not elsewhere, but within. Rumi danced into ecstasy, not for a God afar, but for the divine beloved breathing him. Lao Tzu pointed not to the stars, but to the way that flows through all things, quietly animating the world from within. The illusion of distance was never God's doing. It was ours born of shame, of fear, of forgetting. But now the veil is lifting, and as it lifts, you are not becoming something new. You are remembering something eternal. Let that remembrance wash over you now. Let it dissolve the belief that you are not enough. Let it unravel the story that God is outside you. Let it bring you home. Home is not a place. Home is the space in which you remember who you are. And who you are is not your name, your past, your labels. Who you are is the I am behind them all. The breath of the divine wrapped in flesh. The infinite awareness having a temporary experience. The formless presence appearing as form. You do not have to try to be spiritual. You are spirit. You do not have to earn love. You are made of love. You do not have to seek God. You are an expression of God seeking itself. This truth will not always comfort your ego. It will undo it. Because the ego thrives on the illusion of separation, and this truth makes separation impossible. You are not the storm of your thoughts. You are the sky that holds them. You are not the waves of your emotion. You are the ocean they rise from. You are not even the voice in your head. You are the silence that listens. And that silence, that pure, unchanging presence is God. Not a God that demands, but a God that gives. Not a God that punishes, but a God that heals. Not a God that needs your obedience, but a God that lives in your joy. This is not a rejection of tradition. It is a return to truth. You are not here to become worthy. You are here to remember you always were. You are not here to chase light. You are here to awaken to the light within. You are not here to beg for miracles. You are the miracle. And when you begin to live from this, knowing not as philosophy, but as felt truth, everything changes. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop trying to control the world. You stop trying to earn love, because the source of all love, all worth, all peace is no longer something you chase. It is something you allow, and in that allowing, you begin to radiate, not because of what you have, not because of what you've achieved, but because you are aligned with who you are. You become the space others feel safe in. You become the peace that stills the room. You become the presence that reminds the world, God is here, not above, not beyond, here in me, in you, in this. This is a quiet revolution, not one of noise and anger, but one of remembrance and radiance. A return to the knowing that we are all expressions of one divine life, playing out its beauty in a billion unique ways. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are the divine discovering itself one sacred breath at a time. So stop reaching and start receiving. Stop striving and start surrendering. Not in weakness, but in strength. The strength that comes from finally, fully knowing. God is not somewhere above. God is within. And you are already whole. And so, as you let this truth settle deeper, like light filtering through still water, something begins to stir in the quiet of your being. It is not a thought. It is not a belief. It is an ancient awareness, soft and unshakable, whispering that you have never needed to chase what you already are. There is nothing to ascend, for you were never below. There is nothing to reach, for you were never far. There is only the releasing, the beautiful shedding of what was never yours to carry. You were not born into a life of lack. You were born into a sacred dance, and your heartbeat is the rhythm of that eternal song. Each step you take, whether stumbling or soaring, is guided by an invisible intelligence that does not judge your path, but blesses it with presence. You do not walk alone. You walk with the breath of stars in your lungs, with the wisdom of the universe humming beneath your skin. When you pause long enough to feel it, you will know the ground beneath your feet is holy because you are walking upon it. There is no salvation to earn. There is only the salvation of remembering. And that remembering is not loud. It does not arrive in grand revelations or thunderous declarations. It comes in the gentle act of noticing the aliveness in your hands, the awareness behind your eyes, the stillness beneath your restlessness. It comes when you are no longer trying to be somewhere else and you fall fully into the miracle of now. This is the power of presence, not as a concept, but as a living truth. When you enter it, even briefly, time begins to unravel. The past loosens its grip. The future releases its weight. And what remains is this breath, rich and eternal, as if the universe is breathing through you as you and it island. You are not the echo of your wounds. You are not the residue of your regrets. You are the one who has endured them all and remains unbroken, not untouched, but undefeated. Like a mountain kissed by storms, you have weathered pain not to be ruined by it, but to be refined by it. Each tear has watered the garden of your becoming. Each sorrow has carved out a deeper space for joy. And in that depth, in the raw openness of your heart, God does not arrive. God is revealed, not as a rescuer, but as your own radiant essence. The divine is not coming to save you from your humanity. The divine is here to shine through it. Let that truth hold you now. Let it dissolve the illusion that you must become something more. Let it quiet the voice that says you must do something greater. You are not here to perform. You are here to align. And alignment is not a task. It is a surrender into the simplicity of being. Your very existence is a prayer, not the spoken kind, but the embodied kind. Every breath, every glance, every moment of stillness is a sacred offering to the source from which you came. You need no incense, no altar, no special words. Your presence is enough. Your awareness is enough. Your willingness to feel, to open, to remember this is enough. Even now, as you read, something in you knows this is true. Not because I said it, but because you felt it all along, in quiet moments, in nature, in music, in the gaze of a child, in the ache of longing. You felt the touch of something greater, not above, but within. It's been calling to you, not to change, but to return. Return to the simplicity of being. Return to the sanctuary of stillness. Return to the knowing that nothing is missing. In truth, you are not on a journey to find God. You are on a journey to remove everything that made you forget where God lives. And when the last layer is peeled away, when the last mask is gently set down, what remains is not emptiness, but radiance. You are that radiance. Not because of what you have done, but because of what you are. Not someday, but now. Not if you succeed, but even in your surrender. You are the flame, not the wick. You are the light, not the lamp. You are the divine, not in metaphor, but in essence. And this realization is not pride, it is humility. Because in recognizing the sacred in yourself, you begin to see it in all. You begin to meet every face as the face of God. You begin to hear every voice as a note in the divine symphony. You begin to forgive, not to forget pain, but because you remember love. The lines that once separated you from others blur and soften. You look into a stranger's eyes and see a reflection. You feel another's sorrow and sense your own healing. This is not sentiment, it is union. It is the truth that beneath all form, there is only one presence playing every part. And that presence is love. Not the love we barter for approval, but the love that simply is the love that formed the stars and now animates your soul. It does not arrive when you deserve it. It does not disappear when you falter. It is the eternal yes beneath all your no's. It is the open hand beneath your grasping. It is the home that welcomes you even when you have forgotten how to knock. Let this love not be a concept you hold. Let it be the truth that holds you. Let it soften your edges. Let it silence the war within. Let it remind you, you are not separate from the source. You are the source remembering itself. And remembering, you are free. Freedom, then, is not a reward bestowed upon the worthy. It is the fragrance of truth when illusion fades. It is not earned through perfection, nor achieved through conquest. True freedom is what remains when you are no longer at war with the moment. It is the soft, unwavering peace that arises when you are no longer running from yourself. You see, the prison was never built of circumstance. It was built of belief. Beliefs inherited, absorbed, repeated until they became the wallpaper of your mind. Beliefs that told you your value could be measured, your spirit could be broken, your life could be unloved, but what you believe is not always what is true. And what is true, what is eternally true, is that you are already free. Not the freedom to do anything, but the freedom to be everything you already are. The soul does not require permission. It only requires your presence. It does not demand proof of worth. It is the worth. And it will wait patiently without judgment for as many lifetimes as it takes for you to turn inward and remember, I am. Not I am this or I am that, simply I am, the most sacred utterance, the original echo of creation, the soundless vibration that spoke you into existence and never once withdrew its song. And when you breathe into that space that I and the layers begin to fall away, the fear, the striving, the mask of needing to be enough, they melt like shadows at sunrise. You do not need to cast them out. You need only to see them. Because what you see through the eyes of presence, you no longer fear. And what you no longer fear no longer controls you. Even your wounds, those deep and aching places, become sacred when seen from this space. For they too have been part of the unfolding, not as punishments, but as portals. Not to harden you, but to hollow you out so that more light could pour in. Your scars are not proof of brokenness. They are proof that even pain could not extinguish your light. And that light, make no mistake, is not a metaphor. It is literal, it is real, it is energy. It is life itself moving through you, not because you are special, but because you are. The tree does not boast of its roots. The sun does not apologize for its glow. And you no longer need to shrink in the name of humility. Your light does not dim another's, it awakens theirs. You become a lighthouse not by shouting into the storm, but by standing rooted in stillness. You become a sanctuary for others, not by preaching peace, but by being peace. And this being, this sacred embodied being, is your highest offering to the world. There is no future moment where this begins. There is no enlightened version of you waiting behind some curtain of achievement. The moment is now, the truth is here. And it has always been. You are not here to chase enlightenment. You are here to embody light, to bring it into your relationships, to infuse it into your work, to let it pour through your laughter, your silence, your tears, to live not above the world, but deeply within it, anchored in the divine, yet fully awake to the human. This is not transcendence. This is integration, the sacred marriage of heaven and earth inside your very breath. And the more you trust this, the more life opens. Not because you control it, but because you no longer resist it. Resistance was never strength, it was fear dressed as armor. But surrender is true power. Not giving up, but giving in to the flow, to the intelligence that has always known the way home. When you surrender, you stop bracing for life. You start receiving it. You stop surviving. You start living. And not living for tomorrow, living in this holy, unrepeatable now. Look around you right now. This moment, this breath, this flicker of light in your eyes, it will never come again. It is not a bridge to something better. it is the miracle you've been waiting for. And the one who is waiting is the same one who holds the key to freedom. You, not the you others see, not the you pretend to be, but the sacred you, the quiet you, the you who has always known that God is not watching from above God, is watching through your eyes. God is moving in your hands. God is breathing in your lungs. God is living as you. And when you finally surrender to this, knowing not with your mind, but with your whole being, the search ends. Not because you gave up, but because you arrived. Home, at last. Home in the self. Home in the moment. Home in the truth that you were never separate, never less, never lost. You were simply waiting for yourself. And now you are here. Here, now, as the sacred breath of your own arrival whispers through you, feel the stillness widen. Feel the gentle echo of a truth, long buried under the noise of ambition and the endless reaching toward the horizon. You are not a wanderer cast adrift in a foreign land. You are the land. You are the presence from which all paths emerge and to which all paths return. You are not seeking the light at the end of a tunnel. You are the light within it, illuminating the way, not just for yourself, but for the whole of existence that dances through you. And this realization, this remembrance is not an ending. It is the great beginning. The beginning of a life lived not in reaction, but in revelation. A life in which every breath becomes an altar. Every touch becomes a blessing. Every moment, no matter how small, becomes holy. Not because the world changed, but because your eyes finally opened to what was always true. The divine was never apart from you. It was waiting in the silence, beneath every doubt, beneath every moment you felt unseen, untouched, unloved, not gone, just unnoticed. You begin to see with new vision, not the sight of the eyes, but the seeing of the soul. The world that once felt sharp and hard begins to soften. The people you once feared or judged are no longer threats or obstacles, but reflections, messengers. Some will arrive to open your heart, others to break it so it can be made new. Every encounter sacred. Every voice, the voice of God trying on 1,000 accents to teach you what love looks like from every angle. This is not romanticism, it is realism at its most sacred depth. Because once you know who you are, truly know, everything becomes a mirror. The beauty you see in others is the beauty awakening in you. The pain you feel in the collective is your own ache for unity. And the love that flows from you, that limitless, unconditional stream, is not yours to control. It flows because you've stopped blocking it. It flows because you've remembered that to hold back love is to hold back your nature. And when you withhold who you are, suffering is inevitable. There is no longer room for the old story, the one that said you had to earn love, that your value could be added to or subtracted from based on your deeds. That story belonged to the ego, to the conditioned self, to the false identity crafted by fear. That self was never real. It was a necessary character on the stage of your forgetting. But now the curtain is lifted, and the actor, exhausted from pretending, bows to the truth. In the presence of truth, the old masks melt away, and what remains is terrifyingly beautiful because it is honest, it is raw. It is you without the armor, you without the apology, you without the performance. You as you were before the world taught you to be something else. And from that place, from that deep and tender honesty, your life begins to bloom. Not outwardly necessarily, not in achievements the world applauds, but inwardly, like a flower opening in the dark, with no need for recognition, only the joy of being what an island. That is grace, not a favor bestowed by a distant deity, but the natural outcome of alignment. Grace is the universe reorganizing itself around your wholeness, not because you demanded it, but because you allowed it. Because when you remember who you are when you live, not as the seeker, but as the seen, you no longer move in haste or fear. You no longer struggle to convince life of your worth. Instead, you become quiet, rooted, unshakable. You stop grasping. And in the absence of grasping, abundance flows. Not the abundance of accumulation, but the abundance of enoughness. Enough love, enough peace, enough breath. And in that enoughness, life becomes simple again. Not small, but spacious. The kind of simplicity that brings tears, because you remember the joy was never in the destination, but in the texture of the moment you were too busy to feel, the sound of wind through leaves, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the smile you offer without needing one in return, These are not small things. These are the touch of God. And that touch, that sacred touch, is not outside you. It moves through your hands, your words, your presence. You begin to see that you do not need to heal the whole world. You only need to inhabit yourself fully. Because a soul fully present is a healing presence, and presence is contagious. You start to change rooms simply by entering them. Not because of charisma, but because of coherence. Not because you speak loudly, but because your silence speaks truth. You carry a vibration that needs no translation. The vibration of someone who has stopped seeking and started being. You forgive more easily, not because the past didn't hurt, but because you no longer define yourself by the pain. You love more openly, not because others always deserve it, but because withholding love feels like choking your own soul. You laugh more freely, not because life is always easy, but because you are no longer waiting for it to be perfect before you feel joy. This is what it means to live from the center. This is what it means to be anchored in the divine within, not as an ideal, but as a lived reality. And so you walk, not faster, but lighter. You speak not louder, but truer. You wake each day not with dread, but with reverence, because you have remembered that life is not something happening to you. It is something happening as you. You are not a mistake waiting to be corrected. You are a miracle unfolding, and the unfolding is enough. And now, beloved soul, as we come to the final bend in this quiet river of remembrance, let the stillness expand once more. Let it cradle you like warm light spilling through a window you forgot was always open. You need not rush this moment. You need not grasp for one last truth to carry with you. What is needed now is not another thought, but a breath, a soft surrender into what has already been awakened within you. This is not the end of the journey. This is the moment the journey returns to itself. The circle completes, not with triumph, but with tenderness. The questions you once carried like heavy stones have softened. Some have vanished, not because they were answered, but because they were never yours to carry. What remains is not the knowledge of the mind, but the wisdom of the heart, a quiet knowing that needs no proof. You no longer ask, "Where is God?" because the very question dissolves in the light of your own being. You have seen the face of the divine not in the sky, but in the mirror. Not in thunder, but in silence. Not in perfection, but in presence. You have touched the sacred not by reaching upward, but by falling inward. And in the falling, you rose. You rose into the clarity that you are not missing. You rose into the peace that nothing is wrong. You rose into the grace that nothing was ever broken, only waiting to be seen as whole. And now, the sacred breath within you moves with new rhythm. Not the rhythm of striving, but of surrender. Not the rhythm of urgency, but of trust. The kind of trust that knows beyond logic that life is for you, that every path, even the winding ones, led you here, that nothing was wasted, not a tear, not a silence, not a mistake. You understand now that God was never found because God was never missing. The divine did not need to be summoned, praised, or convinced. It needed only to be recognized. And in that recognition, you were reborn, not into someone new, but into the truth you never stopped being. And now you walk not as one who searches, but as one who sees. You speak not to impress, but to bless. You live not to prove, but to embody. The ego may still whisper its doubts, but it no longer leads. Fear may still knock, but it no longer enters. You no longer bow to what is loud, you listen for what is true. There is a sacred quietness to your soul now, a depth that cannot be explained, only felt. Those who meet you will sense it not with their minds, but with something deeper. You will become, without effort, a mirror for others to see their own light, not by shining brighter, but by being clear. You will not lead by force. You will lead by remembrance. And this remembrance, this gentle, holy knowing, will guide every step forward. It will guide you in love, in service, in stillness. It will whisper when to act, when to rest, when to simply breathe and let the moment be enough. Because the truth is, it always was. You were never lost. You were never forgotten. You were never unworthy. You were simply asleep to the miracle of your own existence. But now, you are awake. Awake not as a seeker, but as the source. Awake not as a part of God, but as God expressed through form. Awake not with answers, but with presence. And that presence, your sacred presence, is enough. Enough to heal. Enough to lead. Enough to love. Enough to live. So now, let this final truth rise in you like morning light. God is not somewhere above. God is within. God is this moment. God is this breath. God is this you. And you, dear soul, are finally home. There is a sacred rhythm, an invisible thread that hums beneath the surface of all things. It flows through the whispering wind and the crashing tide, through the tears that fall quietly at midnight and the laughter that erupts in sunlight. It is the great breath of life itself moving through you, around you, as you, and it declares in every moment everything in the universe is connected. This is not merely a poetic thought or a spiritual platitude. It is truth, vibrating at the very core of your being, waiting not to be proven but to be remembered. You are not separate from life. You are not apart from nature. You are not isolated in your experience. You are the sky, the river, the star, the seed. You are the dreamer in the dream. And when you remember this, even for a flicker of a second, something ancient in you stirs and awakens. We live in a world that teaches us to divide, to label, to cut life into fragments. This is good, this is bad, this is me, this is them. But the soul knows no such boundaries. It sees through the illusion of separation and whispers gently, all is one. The leaf does not fall alone. It dances on the breath of the same wind that moves the galaxies. Your heartbeat is not isolated. It echoes the pulse of the entire cosmos. You may think your thoughts are yours alone, that your sadness is private, that your joy belongs only to you. But energy does not lie, and it does not obey the ego's wish for division. Your emotions ripple out into the collective field. Your healing lifts more than just your own burden. Your light brightens the way for more than just your own path. You are a note in the great symphony, and without you, the melody is incomplete. The mystics of old, Lao Tzu, Rumi, Jesus did not speak of unity as an abstract idea. They lived from it. They knew that to hurt another was to hurt oneself. That to forgive was to return to the truth of connection. That to love without condition was to remember God. Because God is not distant. God is not separate. God is the very space in which all things arise. God is the connection itself. And so, when you gaze at a tree, know that it is not something outside of you, it is a reflection of you. When you see a stranger, you are meeting another expression of the same divine presence. And when you sit in silence, breathing slowly, feeling the warmth in your chest that is not loneliness, that is your soul reaching out across eternity, touching everything that ever was and ever will be. The ego resists this truth. It clings to identity. It wants to be special, distinct, superior, or at least separate. But the moment you drop that illusion, the moment you stop defending your borders, something miraculous happens. You expand, you soften, you open. And in that openness, you find not vulnerability, but power. Not weakness, but wholeness. Because it was never about being separate, it was always about remembering your place in the great fabric of existence. To feel connected is to heal, because all dis-ease begins with a belief in separation. The moment you think you are alone, unloved, unworthy, you disconnect from the source of all life. But when you return, when you remember, you plug back into the current of the universe. And healing rushes in like water through a cracked dam. Look at the cells in your body, billions of them, all communicating, collaborating, pulsing in harmony. You are a living orchestra, and so is everything else. The trees speak to one another underground through their roots. The oceans dance with the moon. The birds follow magnetic fields you cannot see. There is intelligence in every corner of creation, and it is not foreign to you. It is you. You are made of stars. This is not metaphor, it is biology. The carbon in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, it all came from ancient celestial explosions. The universe birthed you, not just long ago, but in this very breath. You are not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself in form. So why do we forget? Why do we feel lost, alone, afraid? Because we've mistaken the costume for the character. We believe the story instead of the storyteller. We've looked at the wave and forgotten it belongs to the ocean. But the wave cannot be separated. It rises, it falls, and it returns, just like you. And when you stop trying to be the wave, when you stop fighting the tide, you feel the vastness of what you truly are. You do not need to go anywhere to find connection. You only need to be present. The connection is not out there, it is here, now, in this breath. In the feel of your feet on the floor, in the rhythm of your breath, In the miracle that you can read these words and something deep within you is nodding, remembering, this life is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a dance to be joined. Every person, every moment, every joy and sorrow is part of the same movement, the same dance. And when you stop resisting, when you join the flow, you are no longer a stranger. You are a sacred participant in the unfolding of all things. When you bless the world, you bless yourself. When you judge another, you wound yourself. Because there is no other. There is only one life, one being wearing 1,000 masks, playing 1,000 roles. But always, always behind the mask, there is only light. And that light is you. Let the tears come if they must. Let the heart crack open. That is how the light gets in. That is how the truth is remembered. Not through intellect, but through feeling, through presence, through surrender. There is no more sacred act than to be here, fully, now, with your pain, with your joy, with your questions, with your silence. Because when you are present, you are plugged back into the field of intelligence, of love, of unity. You do not have to earn it. You cannot deserve it. It is already yours, already here, already now. So trust the pull you feel toward truth. Trust the longing that brought you here. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the soul remembering its source. And that source is not far. It is not distant. It is not lost. It is you. And it is everything. Everything is connected. And so, as you listen more closely to the silence between your thoughts, you begin to feel it, a sacred pulse moving through all things. This pulse does not come and go. It is not louder in joy or fainter in sorrow. It is steady, eternal, like the hush of stars in the night sky or the stillness beneath a storm. It is the presence of life itself, whispering that no matter what has happened to you, no matter what stories you've carried or identities you've worn, you have never been outside the embrace of this oneness. Even your pain, even your confusion has been part of the connection. You see, nothing is wasted in a universe woven from divine intelligence. Every sorrow is a doorway, every question a compass, every loss a quiet redirection towards something deeper. The tears you thought made you weaker have watered the roots of your awakening. The silence you feared was abandonment, was the sacred space where your soul could finally speak. The trees don't rush. They don't try to be taller than the others or bloom before their time. They trust the sunlight. They trust the rain. They lean into the seasons with a kind of knowing that defies words. And you too are part of that wisdom. Somewhere beneath the noise of deadlines and expectations, beneath the layers of fear and performance, you know how to be. You know how to trust. Because your very being was born from trust, the trust of cells dividing, of hearts beating, of breath flowing without instruction. It is only the mind that forgets. It is only the ego that interrupts the dance with its need to control, to compete, to compare. But the soul, it does not hurry. It does not need permission to be worthy. It simply exists, quietly radiant, waiting for you to return, not through effort, not through striving, but through softening, through allowing. The deepest truths are never shouted, they are felt. They are remembered in the hush before dawn, in the warm gaze of a friend, in the quiet of your own breath when you finally stop running from yourself. These moments are not small. They are the gateways to everything. They are where the illusion of separation begins to dissolve. And you remember not as an idea, but as a living experience, that the river is not separate from the sea, and you are not separate from the source. Every person you meet, every soul you encounter, is another thread in this vast sacred tapestry. You were never meant to walk alone. Even in your solitude, you are held. Even in your silence, you are heard. The same light that burns in the stars burns in your chest. The same intelligence that choreographs galaxies beats your heart. To recognize this is to awaken not into some exalted state above the world, but into a deeper presence within it. This presence does not ask you to escape your life. It asks you to enter it more fully. To see the divine, not only in meditation or ceremony, but in the mundane, the dishes, the traffic, the waiting rooms, the misunderstandings. For if everything is connected, then nothing is outside the reach of grace. Even your mistakes, your detours, your longings, they are all part of the sacred map unfolding beneath your feet. There is a kind of freedom that cannot be taken, only realized. It is the freedom that comes not from changing your circumstances, but from seeing through them. From recognizing that the same consciousness experiencing your life right now is the same that experiences the entire cosmos, You are not a bystander to this miracle. You are its expression. And this expression is not something you have to force. It is something you allow. Just as the flower does not strain to open, your soul does not need to push to become. It only needs the warmth of your awareness. The soft gaze of your presence. And when you bring that presence to your thoughts, to your pain, to your fears, they begin to shift, not because you conquered them, but because you finally saw them without judgment. There is no need to resist what is arising. Resistance only tightens the knot, but surrender, the sacred surrender of meeting each moment with openness, unravels the illusion of separateness thread by thread. You begin to realize that the people who challenge you the most are also your greatest teachers. That the parts of yourself you once exiled are simply fragments waiting to be welcomed home. That the world is not against you, it is reflecting you. This reflection is not always flattering, but it is always accurate. And it is never a punishment, it is an invitation to go deeper, to peel back the layers, to see the face of the divine, not just in temples or scriptures, but in the stranger, at the checkout line, in the ache of longing, in the laughter that escapes you when you least expect it. Everything is speaking to you, not in words, but in energy, in rhythm, in vibration. And when you begin to listen, not just with your ears, but with your entire being, you realize there is no such thing as coincidence, no such thing as separation, only alignment, only resonance, only the song of life playing through every thread of existence. And the more tuned you become, the more you begin to sing along, not with effort, but with grace. You start to live not out of reaction, but out of alignment, not from fear, but from truth. You become less interested in being right and more devoted to being real. You become less attached to outcome and more surrendered to presence. This is the way of the connected soul, not a path of escape, but of embodiment. Not an ascent out of humanity, but a descent into divinity. You were never meant to transcend your life. You were meant to inhabit it fully, to live as the bridge between heaven and earth, to remember with every breath that the sacred is not somewhere else. It is here, and it is now, and it is you. When you walk through the world with the eyes of your soul open, even the ordinary becomes luminous. A falling leaf is no longer a sign of decay, but a testament to trust the tree releasing what is no longer needed without resistance, without fear, without needing to know what comes next. This is the art of living in harmony, to release with grace, to trust the unseen, to surrender not in defeat, but in reverence. The soul does not chase. It attracts through stillness. It calls forth what aligns with its truth by simply being what it island. And when you return to this truth, when you rest in the knowing that your presence is enough, your essence is sacred, you stop reaching outward and begin radiating inward. That quiet radiance becomes your compass, guiding your choices, your words, your very breath. Nothing in nature rushes, yet all is accomplished. The sun never hurries to rise, yet it warms the world each morning without fail. The river never forces its course, yet it carves canyons through ancient stone. There is power in surrender, not the kind the mind understands, but the kind the soul remembers. A power that does not dominate, but harmonizes, that does not push, but flows. And you are that flow. You are not a fixed point, not a label, not a final product. You are a living process, unfolding in divine timing, dancing to the rhythm of a universe that has never made a mistake. Even your detours, even your doubts are sacred steps in a choreography far more beautiful than anything the mind could script. We are conditioned to measure our worth by what we do, what we have, how we are perceived. But the soul knows nothing of such measures. It is not interested in applause. It is not seeking validation. It is simply here to express the unique thread of the infinite that only you can carry. Not to impress, not to achieve, but to express freely, fully, fearlessly. And in that expression, you liberate others. Because when you live from truth, when you walk in alignment, your presence becomes permission. You become a mirror in which others can see their own light. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to save them. You simply need to be the embodiment of remembrance. We are not separate souls wandering alone. We are facets of the same jewel, rays of the same sun, notes of the same eternal song. And the more you tune into that harmony, the less fear you carry. Because fear is the child of separation. It grows in the shadows of me versus them. Not enough, what if? But when you return to the truth of connection, fear has no place to root. In its absence, love blooms. Not the conditional love that demands or clings, but the love that simply sees, that bears witness, that blesses without needing to change. This love is not something you do, it's something you are. It pours through you like light through a window when the curtains are drawn back. It does not discriminate, it does not calculate, it simply shines. And that shining begins not with the world, but with you, with how you see yourself, with how gently you speak to your own heart, with how willing you are to sit with your own pain without judgment. Because the more compassion you bring inward, the more naturally it overflows outward. This is not selfish, it is sacred. You cannot offer what you do not embody. You cannot light the path for others if you are hiding from your own. And so the journey home must begin within, not in solitude, but in intimacy with the self you've long avoided, the self beneath the roles, the self beneath the striving, the self that's simply island. That self has never been broken. It does not need to be healed, it needs to be revealed. It is not lost, it is waiting for you to be still long enough to feel it, to hear its soft call beneath the noise, to trust its wisdom over the loud demands of fear. And when you do, when you remember who you are beneath all the forgetting, you come alive in a new way. Not as someone improved, but as someone revealed. You begin to see, not just with your eyes, but with your soul. You recognize the sacred in every encounter. You move through the world not in haste, but in grace. This grace is not earned. It is not the result of perfection. It is the natural fragrance of a being in alignment. And you are always one breath away from it, one moment of surrender, one heartbeat of remembrance. Let the past be the teacher, not the jailer. Let the future be the canvas, not the cage. Let this moment, this sacred, pulsing, living moment be enough, because it is enough. Because you are enough. And because in this moment, you are not separate. You are home. And when you truly arrive in this moment, not in body alone, but in awareness, you will feel it. That quiet, living current beneath your skin, whispering, you are not a part. You are a thread in the divine weave. You are the breath the universe takes when it wants to experience love. This is not poetry, this is not metaphor, this is reality seen clearly through the eyes of the soul. The illusion has always been that we are separate, that we must earn our place in the cosmos, that belonging is a reward for good behavior, but belonging is not a prize, it is a truth. And the only thing that keeps you from feeling it is the belief that you do not. Strip that belief away, and what remains is union. Still, present, undeniable union. Not with someone else, not with something else, but with all things, because there is no other. There is only the one expressing itself through many. And once this truth roots itself in your being, your entire orientation begins to shift. You move from striving to surrender, from control to trust, from analysis to awareness. You begin to feel life not as a sequence of problems to be solved, but as a sacred story unfolding perfectly, chapter by chapter, with you as both the reader and the page. And oh, what a story at Island. A story that needed every joy and every sorrow, every loss, every miracle, every unanswered prayer. A story that used even your forgetting as a pathway back to remembrance. A story that has never, not for one breath, excluded you from its center. Because you are not a side character in this divine play, you are the beloved. Yes, even when you doubted. Yes, even when you stumbled. Yes, even when you turned away from yourself and said, I am not enough. The love did not leave. The connection did not break. The light within you only waited patiently for you to remember that you are not your shame. You are not your wounds. You are not the dust on the mirror. You are the reflection itself. And it is in your stillness that the mirror clears. Not in your performing, not in your fixing, but in your being. The more you soften, the more you see. The more you let go of what you think you are supposed to be, the more you realize what you always presence, awareness, love. This is not a lesson to be mastered. It is a truth to be lived. Not in grand declarations, but in small sacred acts of attention, listening fully when someone speaks, feeling the warmth of your tea before you sip, watching the sky without needing it to change. These are not distractions from your spiritual path. They are your spiritual path, because everything is connected. And in that everything, nothing is too small to matter. Even your breath is holy. Even your pause is prayer. Even your confusion is part of the unfolding. And that unfolding does not need your control, it needs your trust. The flower does not open by effort. It opens because the time is right. And so do you. When the defenses fall, when the masks slip, when the voice within you grows louder than the noise outside of you. Then, and only then, you begin to feel it, not as an idea, but as a living force, the interconnectedness of all things. You begin to see that every encounter is sacred, every moment a teacher, every pain a portal. You no longer push away what you once feared. You lean in, you listen, you bless it. Because the moment you see the divine in all, you begin to trust the divine in all. You stop needing proof. You stop needing permission. You start living as if the entire universe is your companion, because at Island, you walk with an unseen hand on your back, with whispers from the stars echoing in your chest, with the rhythm of the moon guiding your tides. You no longer chase the light. You carry it. And so you carry the light not as something earned, but as something remembered. It flickers in the stillness behind your thoughts, glows in the warmth of your gaze, and hums in the words that rise unfiltered from your heart. The light does not announce itself. It does not demand a stage. It simply shines. And in shining, it reminds others that they too are made of stars. You see, you do not need to save the world. The world is not broken. It is in the midst of remembering. And your only task, your only sacred responsibility is to be what you are. To stand rooted in the quiet, knowing that everything belongs, even this, even now, even the part of you that still doubts, still aches, still resists. For even resistance is part of the sacred dance. The wave does not resent the shore. It returns again and again, not because it must, but because it is its nature to flow. And it is your nature to return to presence, to return to stillness, to return to love not as something found, but as something allowed. And when you allow love to move through you unfiltered, unbound, unconditional, you become a living vessel of the truth. That connection is never lost, only forgotten. The moment you forgive, you bridge the illusion of separation. The moment you bless what once wounded you, you reclaim your power as a creator of peace. The moment you hold your own heart with tenderness, you send ripples of healing into a field that spans all of time. This is how the world is healed. Not through noise, but through presence. Not through urgency, but through reverence. You do not need to change everyone. You only need to embody the change so fully that it becomes contagious. So fully that your very presence shifts rooms, opens hearts, softens walls. You become the silent invitation, the open door, the calm harbor, the living reminder that there is nothing to chase, nothing to prove, and nothing to become. Because all becoming is a remembering, and remembering is the return. The return to the truth that you are not a drop in the ocean, forgotten and small. You are the ocean in motion. You are the breath of life clothed in form. You are the song of the infinite, echoing for a brief moment as this beautiful, sacred, imperfectly perfect human being. You are here to feel it all. The beauty, the ache, the fear, the joy. You are not here to rise above your humanity. You are here to infuse it with divinity, to take the mundane and make it holy, to take the fleeting and see it as eternal, because everything is a reflection of the whole. And in that reflection, nothing is left out. No tear is wasted. No joy is insignificant. No moment is meaningless. All is held, all is honored, all is one. And so we arrive, if arrival can even be spoken of in a universe without end, at the soft truth we have been circling all along. Everything in the universe is connected. And that connection lives within you, it breathes through you, it weeps with you, it sings through you, it never left you, it cannot leave you, because it is not outside of you. It is you. And you, beloved soul, are not lost. You are home. You do not need to retreat to mountaintops to find the sacred. You only need to see the sacred in what is already here. The sound of your footsteps, the softness of your breath. The way the sunlight dances across a window pane. These are not distractions from your spiritual path, they are the path. The world is not hiding truth from you. It is whispering it always, through the language of beauty, of presence, of connection. Every encounter is an invitation, every emotion is a teacher. Every challenge is a sacred test, not of your strength, but of your willingness to remember. Will you see the light in this moment? Will you trust that even this, even now, is a thread in the great design? Will you meet the world not with resistance, but with reverence? Because when you do, when you walk through your life as if it were a temple, everything begins to respond to you differently. The people you meet feel safer in your presence. The chaos around you softens. The fear within you begins to dissolve. Not because the world has changed, but because your frequency has. And that frequency is your greatest gift. Not your resume, not your achievements, not your image or your accolades, but your energy, the vibration of your being when it is aligned with truth. That silent hum that says without words, I remember who I am, and I see who you are too. This remembrance is your power. This connection is your inheritance. This unity is your home. So breathe it in, let it settle, let it anchor in your bones so that when the noise of the world returns, you are not shaken, you are not pulled, you are not lost. You are rooted in something deeper, rooted in being, rooted in love, rooted in the eternal truth that everything is connected. And you are not a visitor to this truth. You are its expression. You are its voice. You are its living proof. So go now, not to change yourself, but to live more fully as what you've always been. And let your life be the quiet revolution, the gentle remembrance, the steady light. Let your presence be the prayer. Let your truth be the guide. And let your soul once and for all come home. Here, now, in the oneness that never left you, in the love that always was, in the sacred silence that says without words, without doubt, you are connected, you are whole, you are already what you seek, and now you live it.